Microsoft had I thought, a pretty good result. I don't know how you feel about it, but it came down to, what was it, 45, their Q1, 45 billion in revenue, 20 billion in operating, up 11%, 16% in constant currency. I believe it was a beat on the bottom. It was a just miss on the top. Doing this all from memory, trying not to look at the notes so I can stare at all of you.
You can just look at my tweet and it will show you.
By the way, Pat's tweets are the best. But what I really liked about this, and I had the chance to go on and talk to Bloomberg Tech about these earnings after they hit, was I like the fact that their number was pretty well diversified across the business. Now, the Azure number was probably the one thing that got investors a little bit of short-term indigestion. I think they came out at around a 35% growth for Azure, and that is a slowdown. I think they were looking for 40, which is what they had last quarter. But if you look across the business, you look at things like Dynamics ERP, Dynamics 365. Even I think their more personal business, the personal computing business, showed some really good resiliency coming in at the expectation, or even just a little bit above. This is a company that has a little bit of exposure to consumer, has a lot of exposure to enterprise, and as far as I can tell, the business is still growing. And like I said, we're acting like the world is coming to an end right now. But the reality is this company did more sales than a year ago when tech was being valued at exponentially higher multiples. And so, what are the consequences? Well, FX, of course, is every company like a Microsoft that has a big global platform is being impacted by FX. As far as I could see, though, OpInc was still strong. It was still up, I think 6% on a year-over-year basis. But the net inc was down a little bit. So, people were a little bit worried about that. And so is their diluted EPS on the year-over-year basis. But if you look across, like I said, the portfolio, Office up, Office Consumer up, LinkedIn up, Dynamics up, Server up. They had a couple of downs. Xbox, not surprising. Consumer, even devices, though, Pat, 2% up. Now, again, I think we're going to see some pretty bad device numbers from some other companies, but now you got Microsoft up. And by the way, I know Apple botched the iPhone a little bit, but did you see that Mac number? Oh my God.
Yeah, 20%.
But apparently not all the PCs are in trouble. Apparently there are certain ultra premium, and I've always said the Surface is a little bit more like the Mac of the PC world. It's kind of the ultra cool premium product, and it seemed to hold its own this particular quarter, Pat. So I think good job. I know people are kind of bunching Microsoft in with some of the lower performers, but I think that's kind of a miss. I don't see it that way. I see a good performance after a series of great performances here, and that Microsoft largely looks like it's in good shape to weather any short-term storm.
Good stuff, my friend. So I'm going to give kind of my overall thoughts, and then I'm going to dive in. I'm not going to talk financials. I'm going to talk more about usage metrics and things like that. And everything I'm going to talk about is in constant currency because, quite frankly, I'm not an equities analyst and I'm an industry analyst. I care more about the tonnage and the money that changed hands than the financials. So first of all, I agree with you, Daniel. They had a very good quarter. And most of their revenue numbers were deeply impacted by foreign exchange. And listen, funny, I interned in a foreign exchange group at a company when I was 18. And, short term, you can't control it, right? You can do some arbitrage, as we'll see with Google. You can manage it, but it takes time with hedging. PC market stinks. Surprise, right? So therefore, Windows would be down and new sales related to that as well. And I think it's too soon to hit the panic button on Azure. And I said that before we saw the AWS numbers, which declined as well. Azure has a very strong offering. It's a big business, and I think it has more to do with the economic climate, than being uncompetitive in certain areas. They're not perfect in certain areas, and I think they can be doing more on their own custom silicon. But again, a lot of people hit the panic button just based on that, and they were wrong when we saw afterwards AWS's numbers. So on productivity and business processes, this is like Office 365, LinkedIn, Dynamics 365. Office had record engagement, ARPU growth through E5 licenses. LinkedIn up 21%. And that came from growth in talent solutions. And they brought out this number, a 4x increase in newsletter subscriptions to 150 million. In Dynamics 365, they talked about share gains in finance and supply chain. Isn't it funny, Daniel? Like, if Microsoft, Oracle, and SAP are gaining share in supply chain, who's losing it? It's odd, but again, probably I need a lot more analysis on that. You already gave, I think, a good breakdown on Azure, but so let me finish out here with more personal computing. Right, Windows, zero surprise, down 15%. That's actually lower than the market was down, which was more like 20%. Hey, Windows commercial products, though, were up 15%. A little bit of usage on Windows, 20% increase in monthly active users versus pre-pandemic. Gaming, because I look at constant currency, was actually up 4%. Xbox hardware up 19%. And finally, although they don't like to trumpet this, I think this might be the only major ad business that was up. Maybe Amazon's was up. I think I saw a tweet from you on that. But ads from Bing and from Xandr up 32%. So I thought it was pretty good. And a couple new details that came up. Viva, I've always wanted to know usage on that. 20 million monthly active users on Viva. And I think that is absolutely huge. So I think, from an industry analyst perspective, a good quarter.
Yeah, I think the demand for their products are strong, Pat. I need to correct myself. They actually did beat on top and bottom. It was very narrow. I thought it was a narrow miss. It was a narrow beat. Having said that, I think the cloud and a somewhat cautious outlook was what created that kind of immediate negative response. But yes, you hit it on the head.